summit in March, and this January, for the second time after a sold-out event this past January, we are hosting the Wild and Scenic Film Festival on tours, which we're very excited about. We do a bunch of other things, but that's enough for a short time frame. I would like to take just a moment to recognize some of our partners and supporters who have been here helping put this together. I have a few board members here, Steve and Becky and Sean, and there are others that I've missed. If you could stand up or wave. And then there are some Linda and former board members. I know we've got some of them here. I know you're a former board member. There might be others here. We have, I believe, it's just about 25 organizations that agreed to be partners and help sponsor this event. So if you represent one of those groups, please stand up. I'm not going to read the list, but it is got logos on it. Thank you very much. And a special thank you. Rita Hicks is here, and she's the coordinator of forums for the League of Women Voters Educational Fund. And so I'm going to hand the microphone over to her for just a minute.
Well, I'm not going to take a lot of time because I know we really want to start hearing from candidates, but I want to thank you so much for coming out to this. This is one of a number of forums that the League is partnering with this election season. I would encourage you to check out our calendar for other ones, and check out just the media sources calendar for our conversations with the candidates. Some of the at-large positions we've already been through, others are yet to come. And then also I would encourage you to continue to check out vote411.org. Our volunteers are hard at work aggregating answers from all of these candidates, and it's a really, really good resource before you head to the voting booth. So thank you so much. We're so pleased to be a part of this, and hope we have a great night.
Thank you very much. And we're going to go ahead and get started. There have been a few changes to the candidates who are here. Jennifer Renee Poole is here with the at-large position 1, and Matt Murphy sent his regrets. He is not able to come. And there may be, we'll see, there's still some people who are missing. So I'm going to ask the at-large candidates to come and have a seat up here. At-large 1. And what we're going to do is each candidate is going to have 1 minute to introduce themselves, and then Charles Kuffner, our moderator, is going to be asking questions. We've got over 5 pages worth of questions. We got lots of questions, so we won't be asking all of them. But if you aren't familiar with Charles Kuffner, he has a day job, but in his spare time, I don't know how he does it. He is a blogger, political blogger, and he has interviewed almost all of the candidates for I don't know how many years. So he knows most of them quite well, and they know him. And he's a great resource to our community, and has he's got one of the longest political blogs in Texas. Been around a long time. So with that, I am going to hand it over to the expert, and or I'm going to give the microphone. I'm going to start. We went alphabetical by first name. So just to be a little different, makes you think of.
I think for these purposes, we're just
just go
up and down.
So, and for the candidates, we do have a time impersonate in the green shirt.
Yeah. So one minute introduction. Is to ask about 4 questions that everyone will answer. We would like you each to take 1 minute to answer, and again, this will be time. That way, everyone gets a chance to speak, and we'll be able to ask questions of everybody. I will warn the candidates, I'm not going to ask you all the same thing. So you can pay attention, but taking notes probably won't happen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello. Okay, first thing we do is we wake up. All right, thanks. We all came down here. I'm Jennifer Renee Poole, and I'm running for at-large, position 1. I'm a successful businesswoman here in Houston. Built my business on serving the citizens and the people of the city of Houston when they have to deal with city government. Also, I'm very experienced in city government, having served 10 years on the Buildings and Standards Commission and 3 years on the Police Advisory Commission. and numerous special task forces on city government appointed by both Mayor Parker and Mayor White. One of the things I want to see is the promoting of more jobs for the city of Houston and the education to support those jobs. Also expanded infrastructure repair and a city more responsive and transparent to its citizens. And that means that when they make a decision about your neighborhood, you should already know about it and not after the decision's made. Public safety, neighborhood security, so many things that need to be done in our city, but we need to watch over our neighborhoods. We need to be proud of our neighborhoods. We need to keep them clean. And it's the responsibility of the city for us to be safe and secure. That means sidewalks. That means curbed and guttered streets. That means an opportunity for a quality of life with trees, walkways, and bicycle paths. I'm Jennifer Renee Poole. I want you to help me build a better Houston where it matters.
First, I want to thank all of you for coming here. My name is Michael Griffin. I'm the oldest and the longest running here in Houston, Texas. My background a little bit is preschool teacher for a while, for 3 years, until I graduated from the University of St. Thomas. And then due to the young ladies that were there saying for a fun and safe place, I opened a place called Griff's. Griff's is the oldest college sports club right now. And for 30 years I ran and organized it. The last 20 years I changed it. I went to work as an investigator, private investigator, which would be good on city council. I do work for Kay Griff's. That's my daughter, so it'd be nice to your children growing up. You might have to go to work for them. I have worked a lot. Some of the things you probably like that I've done over the years, I created the 311. So if you've ever used the 311 14 years ago, I created the concept. The second thing I think you might like is I lowered your drainage tax. Because if you remember, everybody was $5. $5, that's what we heard. And as a senior citizen, we thought $5, okay, we're going to do it. We need to fix the potholes and all those things. But as you know, people got higher taxes when they first come in. So I went down to the mayor. I said, Mayor, you scammed us. I said, you know, that's not what you said. She said, Mr. Griffin, if you read the fine print, you would have known. I said, if we, at our age, some of us, if we read the regular print, we're lucky. Right now, I'm working on, for the last 3 years, open up all HOV lanes free. The pilot project is on, but I've got no publicity. I need Metro. I hope they can extend it, which means open up the HOV going towards town and extend the hours at night down there. They're doing it right now. It's for another 30 days. So I need any of you to use the HOVs. And now they extend it from 8 to 11. So any event that you go downtown, you can work. One of the things that I work on, I'm president of the Concerned Citizens of Houston. We meet, what is good for Houston? And one of the things that I thought, potholes, everybody's still mad at potholes. We have 27 management districts, plus TIRS, tiers. And I just think that I'm going to get to a group and say, how about management districts take over the potholes? Wouldn't that be great? They tax all these small businesses. So this is something I love to do. So I'm working on that. I've got 2 or 3 other things going on, but specifically to help you all. Like I said, thank you very much. I just got my time up there. Sorry.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lane Lewis. I am running for City Council Position 1, which is a citywide office. It is an open race that being vacated by Steve Costello. It's term limited. A little bit about myself. I'm a certified teacher and a certified principal. I've spent most of my career teaching, actually. Elementary, junior high, college, even taught at the police academy for about 10 years, taught a cultural awareness program out there to the cadets. My mom is a retired school teacher herself, and my dad is a retired factory worker, so I know all too well what it feels like to live along the 225 Boulevard and look out at the Emerald City pouring smoke into our air on a daily basis. In fact, I went to Deer Park High School, so I got to see it every morning going to the North and South Campus. A little bit about myself. I have been a community organizer for about 25 years. I got started in my early 20s. And during those years, I've had the benefit of developing a lot of relationships. And in politics, what you'll learn, regardless of what issue it is I'm helping you with, the key to getting it solved is having strong relationships with people across city and county and state government to be able to work with different agencies, and I can assure you there's no one in this race that has more personal and professional relationships in order to get things done on day one. My goals have to do with increasing our tax base, raising our middle class, focusing on blighted areas that are being what I would consider ignored or neglected, to help elevate their ability to participate in our great city. And I'm also very passionate about transportation. I believe one of the keys to improving our air quality is by coming up with multimodal solutions for our city. We need people more on walking, we need people more on bikes, we need them on rail, we need them on bus, we love our cars, but we've got to improve our air quality. And that's one of the quickest ways that we're going to be able to do that, in my opinion, is to be able to get people out of cars and onto mass transit. We're not doing that very well right now. My name is Lane Lewis, and I appreciate your time.
Good evening. I'm Tom McCaslin. I'm running for City Council at Large number 1 as well. I'm a bicyclist. I'm a pedestrian. I ride public transit. In fact, my first 2 years in Houston, I lived in Houston without owning a car and commuted full-time either by public transit or bicycle, and then commuted another 2 years to downtown law firm only by bicycle. I'm a gardener. I'm a composter. I'm a recycler. I'm also the proud father of a daughter who rides public transit and cycles to her last as a senior to a public high school here in town. In terms of what I want to do on City Council, I would point you to my history. Relationships are great, they're important, but they're only important as so far as you can actually get things done. After working for 4 years at Vincent & Elkins as an attorney, I left, worked on the Bill White campaign, one of our mayors who really led the effort on environmental issues, and then spent a year working with the Hermann Park Board. Wrote the city's successful $15 million Tiger Grant, which the city submitted and is now paying for many of the trails that are on there. Some of the colleagues from the Hermann Park Board are here, and they were wonderfully helpful in terms of submitting that. I worked on the utility bills trail, the utility lines trail, the hike and bike trails on Center Point corridors, and then worked on the prep work for the Parks Bayou bond. From there, I went to the County Housing Authority, where I've been the CEO for the last 3.5 years, working on affordable homes. I'm Tom McCaslin. I'm running for City Council at Large number 1.
Thank you, candidates. Basically, for each question, again, we're going to do it just like this. And again, we'd like to limit answers to about 1 minute, so please keep an eye on Steve as you go. All right, first question, and this one I am going to ask all the candidates, so be ready. First question, how did you get here? And if the answer is by car, what, if anything, could be done to have gotten you to take a different mode of transit to get here?
Last night I got there by bus, so I evidently went to the wrong event. But I carpooled here, and one thing I would say is the new bus. The week the new bus route rolled out, I cheated about 3 hours early, but I spent the entire week riding public transit, bicycling, and walking. On the campaign schedule as CEO of Harris County Housing Authority. It was tough. I got rained on. I showed up to meetings sweaty, but it doesn't take much to get me out of the car. Just a little bit of flex time between the prior meeting and this.
I carpooled here with a friend, a campaign manager. One of the reasons we could not take public transportation is because of scheduling. We had a very short amount of time, and public transportation is as it is. Would not allow us to get here within about 15 minutes. It would have taken us significantly longer.
Actually, I was out on South Post Oak as an investigator. I had served a temporary restraining order, which wasn't too happy for the young lady that received that. And then I told her I couldn't. She was very upset. And I said, well, I need to go. This is an important group, environmental. My damn life is important. I said, ma'am, God bless you. And like I said, I did come in my own car. I parked it down there at the end and walked here. I need the exercise. But like I said, I know all of you are environmentalists that you work real hard. We've got a great city, and it's a matter of us just getting together. And that's where the big problem is, cars versus bicycles, people are mad at each other. We need promotional deals. We have a guy drive up next to the girl on the bicycle. Hi, how you doing? Good. It's a very nice night. Be careful. Thank you. We can do that with publicity. I'm sorry.
Unfortunately, I drove my car by myself. I was down at the Houston Permitting Center working, and I looked at my watch and said, oh my God, I've got to be at Hermann Park. I was here when the beautiful setting McGovern Center was inaugurated. It was nice. I got here. I am the problem. I am the problem. It's a matter of having your business scattered around the city and being able to get from point A to point B conveniently. I've always thought that, it has to be convenient or I can't take it. It has to be timely so that I can make the appointments that I necessarily need to make. That's the problem. Is there an answer? A simple answer? No. But a change in our own way of thinking about things, centralizing and making the city more convenient to be used for mass transit.
All right, thank you. This week, there was a case heard in the Supreme Court in which an ordinance passed by Mayor White in 2007 that gave the city enforcement authority against polluters outside city limits was challenged by a group of manufacturers, chemical plants, and whatnot. The case was heard in the Supreme Court, with them arguing that only the state has the authority to do this. Sadly, the conventional wisdom appears to be that this ordinance is likely to be struck down. So, on the assumption that it is, or whether it is or it isn't, what approach do you want to see the city take to get polluters to conform to laws and stop making our city dirty?
Well, other than making attorneys wealthier, what we have to do is to make sure that our city does have the testing facilities, does have the monitors, so that we can shine a bright light on the polluters. Many of these businesses don't like to see the bright light of the media, of individuals, of organizations pointing to them and saying, yes, you're polluting on these days. Because then we have the ability to reach out to state and federal agencies and work against the businesses so that they can, in fact, do what's right for our own environment and our quality of life.
Ladies and gentlemen, there are over 250,000 small businesses in Houston. And I've always felt if you work with the owners of these companies and you sit down with them saying, this is amazing what's happening here. People are getting sick, people are dying. We've got to work on these certain things. Now, we'll give you a certain amount of time. The time is very, very small. And if we don't, then this is going to be fine. So you're not going to be happy working on your company making money because the fines are going to go so high, you're going to change. See, no one does anything unless they're forced to. And I hate to say that, but in big businesses, they're going to let things slip. They do it all the time. They get these, send something over there, tell them that we're working on it. And that's the key of this city, because we've got one of the greatest cities in the country. I mean, we've got 500 people a day moving here. Can you imagine that? When I talked to the gentleman there, he said, I said, for 9 months? He said, how about 2.5 years? 500 people a day moving here. But they want to move to a clean city. Pasadena cleaned up a lot of their stuff because they work together. And I like the idea of working together with small business. Thank you.
I do think that when polluters go across city lines into the county to pollute, it does affect our lives, doesn't it? Even though it's outside the city limits. So I don't have a problem with that at all. As a teacher, one of the things that I've learned is that you can't always be punitive. You have to give your students a reward system to encourage good behavior as well as monitor and discipline poor behavior. So I'd like to see the city do more of that because, as Griff mentioned, very often is the case, the fines are not punitive enough when they weigh the cost of breaking the law. It's cheaper for them to pay the fine and be a polluter than it is to actually do right. So I think a reward system would go good. But let me tell you, in order to make meaningful change on these issues, you're going to have to operate through various government entities. And that's going to take relationships with the state, with the federal, and with the county, which I have.
If the state through the TCQ was doing their job, we wouldn't have to have this argument. So that's the bottom line. Right now, the TCQ is not doing their job against these polluters. So if this gets kicked back, as some people think will, it's the ordinance that gets kicked back. Let's go back to the drawing board. Let's rewrite the ordinance. Let's make sure that we have the ability to enforce clean air inside the city of Houston, even if that air is coming across city lines. That's the bottom line. That's the only thing that we, as elected officials, should be doing in terms of protecting the health, the well-being of the people who are in the city. In terms of preemption, in terms of other arguments that there's conflicts, there's no actual conflict. The city is only trying to enforce the Texas Clean Air Act. If the state's not going to enforce it, we have to have the ability to enforce it here.
All right, thank you. Next question. 10 cities in Texas have passed ordinances.
I think we're over time.
Okay.
Sorry.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you to the candidates. All right. We would like the candidates from at large number 2 up here.
There's going to be a few more questions.
One of our board members was talking with the police officer, and she works for the Harris County Sheriff's Department, but she was walking through the parking lot and saw a lot of purses sitting in seats in the car. So if you don't have your purse, you might want to go grab them, even though I know you all want to hear it.
Yeah, and laptop.
Leave your laptop.
Wait. Oh, I thought there's 2 in the car.
All right. We have 2 candidates here for at large number 2. Take a minute to introduce yourselves, please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Andrew C. Birch Jr., your candidate for re-election to Houston City Council at large, position 2. I'm a father, a grandfather of 10, a husband, a great-grandpa of 1, one spoiled great-grandson. And I'm also the owner and president of AM/PM Telephone Service, which is the first African-American-owned telephone internet company in Houston. And I'm also associate minister at Metropolitan CME Church. I was going to say Christian Methodist Episcopal Church since I got some time. But I am the associate minister there at that church. And I've been in the ministry for the past 35 years. I'm your former council member in position 2. I lost by 477 votes, and I'm coming back to get those 477 and the rest of the number 1 position on number 2 at large. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm City Council Member David Robinson, your current council member in the at-large number 2. I'm an architect, a former member of the Houston Planning Commission, former president of the Super Neighborhood Alliance here for the city of Houston. I'm proudly a former member of the advisory board of the Hermann Park Conservancy with my friend Doreen Stiller, who's here tonight. And just love to celebrate the beautiful environment that we're in this evening and just the incredible job that has been done here. Thank you for this venue. I guess in my role on City Council, I'm pleased that I was nominated and appointed by my peers and the mayor to serve as the chairman of the so-called Quality of Life Committee that has purview and oversight of 5 important city departments, including planning and development, libraries, health and human services, the Department of Neighborhoods, as well as the very important Department of Parks and Recreation. I am an avid park user. My daughter Alyssa and I have been riding the train in the park and coming out to parks on bicycles since she was born some 15 years ago. And I think with that, we're grateful to be here, and I've got 5 seconds. Thank you, Steve.
All right, well, since we didn't get through quite as many questions as I had thought, I'm going to vary things up a bit. Let me start with the question I was going to ask the other candidates. 10 cities in Texas have passed ordinances to restrict or forbid the use of single-use plastic bags. Houston has not taken up such an ordinance as yet. Would you support such an ordinance?
Absolutely, yes. I think a lot has been made so far in the discussion tonight about the importance of being able to collaborate with some of our congressional delegation. As an architect, I have been part of the group that goes to Austin to work with our legislators about things of importance to us, especially in the built environment. That is a category that I've dedicated my career to. The Committee of Urban Design for the local chapter of the American Institute of Architects is something that I've led for 10 years, but specifically when it comes to bags and other pollutants that find their way to the bayou, I know I'm committed. I think I would expand that host of things that we need to petition our legislators about to include cans. Having been a part of the city and state where I come from in Boston, Massachusetts, very successfully a 5-cent tax or fee on returnables for recyclables has been a very effective thing for both cleaning up our cities as well as providing some sorts of revenue for those who collect cans. So I think there's various ways that we can tackle this in collaboration between the city and the state legislature. I feel that I am the elected official now in a very excellent position to help get some of these tough laws passed.
Well, however, think a little different on that. One thing is I've noticed that other cities around the nation have begun to implement charging you for a bag when you purchase something from their stores. I also see a number of cans and trash and debris on our roadsides and into our waterways. I'm just not going to focus on plastic bags as the whole thing. But the whole thing is we're trashing up our community. Mm-hmm. We're not keeping it beautiful. We have laws on the books, but we do not adhere to those laws, and our police do not enforce those laws. When I was in the military, you couldn't drop a cigarette on the ground and leave it there. You would have to bury that baby about 4 feet deep in the water, in the dirt, if they saw that. But out here, we just throw anything out the windows, down your streets. Every day I have to monitor my front of my home for trash. As people pass by, they just throw it out of their cars and don't care where it lands. So we have a bigger problem than just plastic bags. And I will tell you this, that I will work hard to keep Houston clean.
Okay. Keep the microphone here. The city has a sustainability department, which is something that Mayor Parker implemented. Obviously, be up to the next mayor whether to keep that and to decide what to do with it. Do you support the continuation of the sustainability department, and what is your view of it?
Well, I have a good view of it. It's something that we needed to have had at the beginning, and all mayors did not have that. I would love to see them continue on with it. I have some other things to say about that, but it varies off into some other direction, so I hope your portion will touch on that too. You have to take up time.
Okay, thank you. Yes, the mayor appointed Laura Spangen to be our Director of Sustainability. She is, I think, one of the highlights of this great city of ours currently working with the administration. She is a friend and a neighbor, and is someone who I meet with regularly. I saw her yesterday at City Hall along with my students. I teach a little class from Texas Tech. It is a master's program. The class is called Infrastructure in the Urban Environment. She's meeting with my students later this semester to talk about the Houston Bike Plan, the master plan that she has been very pivotal on. As a biker, I feel very strongly about that. We're going to be dedicating a large portion of our semester's curriculum to implementation of that program and what some young, fresh architect minds can do with thinking about those problems. So we're really excited about that. I will definitely work with the next administration to support hiring, rehiring Laura. I think we would be very foolish to lose her leadership and wisdom with the city. I don't know what we'd do without her. I think there's other gaps and things that we need to support her in her efforts. But she's been working in a number of very significant and strong ways.
Okay. I think we'll do one more question here. Since you brought up the bike plan, that was a question that was on my list anyway. What is your evaluation of the bike plan, and what feedback, if any, have you given to it?
Well, I know there's a number of folks in the room here that care very passionately about that. I'm proud to say with a small surplus of dollars from my first year in office that was supplementary, we provided that to the Houston Planning Department for salary of a planner to implement the bike plan. So I am behind it with my vote, with my support, and with my money now. I know I was in the mayor's office yesterday speaking to her about a couple of the shortcomings and the gaps of the program right now. For instance, all the wonderful trails in the collaborative effort that's going on along the Buffalo Bayou, where we've got TxDOT, we've got the city, we've got the county, we've got the Parks Board, all of these entities working together. We still have some very noticeable and significant gaps in the plan where, as far as you can go, you do come to a dead end or a hazardous crossing to get to the further expanse of the network, which we're getting to. I know we've talked a little bit about the Parks Board and what the Bayou Greenway program is bringing for our city, but this is going to contribute to a most extraordinary set of park resources for the city, and I'm fully behind it, and I will continue to support it.
Thank you. Now, I will elaborate now on this very quickly. I voted when I was on council to connect all of the bayous in the city of Houston of around $20 million or more dollars that we were spending at that point in time to connect with bike trails and also with the bayous and jogging trails and walking trails. That's underway right now. That's what Councilmember was just speaking of. That's something we did when I was there, supported. But let me just take a few seconds to talk about something we have not spoken of tonight. And it's very much disturbing to me is when we have brown fields all over this city that we don't think anything of. It's nice to ride a bicycle, but guess what? When you drink that water and it's coming out of the ground, those old service stations in District D, District B, and District I, we have over 75 of them. The city of Houston has not gone after cleaning up those areas of concern. That means that when you're in the park and you're thirsty for water, do you know that your park might be next to a brown field that might be leaking gasoline or whatever, an old cleaners into that water supply? We haven't done our job in cleaning them up. And when I was in Washington, D.C. meeting with the EPA on this a few years ago, I came back with a story and I told the mayor that we are not applying for this. Why should we apply to clean up these brown fields all around the city? And so she said she would do more about that, but that has not happened, unfortunately. That has not happened yet. We're doing a lot of cosmetic fixes, but when you look at the ground underneath, that is what we have, is a lot of pollution there that needs to be taken care of. And why is it congregated in District D, District B, and District I? I think that is poor, because it's in the poor districts of the city where these things are located at. So I would say that we need to go a little bit further and work a lot harder on making our environment the best environment that we can live in, instead of allowing developers to come in and clean it up, and we pay developers to do it. Why can't we do it? Open up jobs for other people to do it. Thank you. Open up jobs where people can learn how to do that, and we can be more productive as a city. Thank you very much. I'm Andrew C. Birch Jr., and I ask for your vote to re-elect me to Houston City Council at Large, position number 2.
All right. Thank you to the at-large number 2 candidates. At this time, I'd like to ask the at-large number 3 candidates to come up to the stage.
Hello, my name is Joe McGonagall. I'm running for at-large 3. To give you an idea of my background and environment, it's unique. So I'm originally from Houston, but I went to school in northern Arizona. And so I had my roommate from orientation, another Eagle Scout buddy of mine, and so it's like the second or third night, and the school I went to was liberal arts. I mean, you know, dreadlocks, the whole 9 yards. I mean, I get there and I'm wearing a Hawaiian shirt, and I'm like, oh God, where am I at? So, long story short, one of the guys, Billy, says, tomorrow's my girlfriend's birthday, I gotta get some flowers. It's 9 o'clock at night, so we're closed. He said, get in your car, we go to the back of the store. And the reason I'm thinking of this is because on my website I have the Portlandia, one of the videos. And yeah, you're laughing. So we get there, he says, pull around the back. Pulls around the back. Okay, he starts taking his clothes off. I'm like, Billy, what are you doing? You're taking your clothes off. I just, it's like the second or third day. And he's like, all right, get down. I'm like, all right. So long story short, I really just blew that. Ask me over a beer.
Hi there, my name is John LaRue. I'm running for City Council at Large, Position 3. I moved to Houston back in 2006 to work as an admissions counselor at the University of St. Thomas. Attended law school here at South Texas College of Law, and after passing the bar, moved to Washington, D.C. to work as policy coordinator for a small nonprofit called Preservation Action, which advocates historic preservation at the federal level. I served as interim director there, and while historic preservation may not be traditionally part of the green movement, the thing that we like to tell Hill staffers and members of Congress when we were lobbying them was that the greenest building is one that's already built. I moved back here to Houston and now practice family law with one of my best friends from law school, which I'm really lucky to do. I serve as the board member for Integrity Houston, which is a group of LGBT Episcopalians working for full inclusion within the church and also within the Houston community. And I'd be honored to get your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. It's great to see this many people that care a lot about environmental issues. My name is Doug Peterson, and I'm running for at-large position 3, City Council. And I'm running, and we are running actually, against the incumbent, who is Michael CoH. Many of you have probably heard his name before, and I think it's time to help him find his way to a new occupation. Thank you. My background, I spent about 25, 30 years with NASA in external relations and public affairs. Ended that career because I wanted to follow my passion. And my passion is really to do public service in the government, in the public sector. I have been involved with the Sierra Club over the last about 10 years. I've been on the board with the club as well as political committee chair at one time, and also have served on the Lone Star Chapter State Political Committee to serve as a person that understands a lot of Houston politics and various candidates. More recently, I've helped organize Exploration Green Conservancy, which out in Clear Lake, we're turning a 200-acre old golf course into a 200-acre flood detention area, and we all need that these days, as well as a conservation area. It's preserved from development in perpetuity now, as well as a park. And if you get a chance, come by the table over here. We always got to do this. Take a look at some of our brochures. I plan to work hard on a lot of the issues that have been simmering in Houston for a long time. Transportation is a big one. We need to really move out on transportation, mass transit, and better bus system, as well as infrastructure, flood detention as described earlier, and I guess my time's up. I will close. Thank you very much. My name is Doug Peterson.
All right, thank you. And again, please keep an eye on our timekeeper. As you know, the city of Houston has curbside recycling for all single-family dwellings in the city. However, a large number of people in Houston live in apartments. How would you like to see, what plan would you support to get the city to expand recycling to include the apartments?
Well, I think the point here is that everybody, all citizens in the city of Houston, need to take part in recycling. We need to be able to move forward with a plan that will include apartment complexes of all types. And if that is a part of the overall cost of your rent, and that there's a central place where you put all recycling that is then picked up by the city, so be it. I think that's good. I think we really need to move past some of the ideas that have been out there. Besides this, the whole thing about one bin recycling is something that the current administration has been pushing quite a bit. And I think we need to reject that at this point and just move forward and do everything we can to make sure that everybody participates. And we may need to have some incentives to do that, but we've got to move out on it and do it.
Amen.
I'll echo Doug's comments on 1 bin. I think it's a really bad idea, and general privatization of municipal services is something that I oppose. I live in an apartment, so it kills me every time I have to throw an aluminum can into the trash can. When I lived in DC, it was so nice. We had 1 big can for recyclables and 1 big can for trash, and it would be so much easier if we had that here. So I would agree. I'd support any options, including if there's an additional fee that we need to add on, if we need to create some community drop-off centers for cans. I know a lot of people, especially younger people who live in apartments, are much more eco-conscious and would be willing to drive a little bit, even if it's just a mile down the road, to make sure that they actually recycle. And because sustainability is a really important issue. We only have this one planet, and we really need to not trash it the way we're doing it right now.
So that's a really good question, and there isn't a really good answer to that, to be honest. I mean, in my experience going to this platform, I feel like I've learned a lot personally. When I first joined, I came because of finance, and then I first saw voting rights was a really big issue, and I still think it is. But to answer your question as far as environmental and recycling, I have a video on the website. I'm not going to go into detail, but it basically explains how Sweden does the recycling. They actually import it. They create jobs. Could Houston do it? Possibly. So I think there are some things that we need to look at that our other cities are doing, other countries are doing. It's just, like I said before, it's just not like a one-size-fits-all answer. Thank you.
Thank you. TxDOT is in the process of proposing a complete redesign for I-45, including through downtown. One of the aspects of that is relocating traffic from the Pierce Elevated to the east side of downtown. There are a number of proposals for what we might do with the Pierce Elevated once it is no longer a venue for traffic, including demolishing it, turning it into a park, and some other things that I'm probably not thinking of. What would you like to see done with the Pierce Elevated once I-45 has been rerouted?
What would I do? Well, so currently in Dallas, they're going through the exact same thing right now. I don't know what road they have that's going through downtown Dallas. It's on my website. I don't know what page. Take a look. But basically, they're having the same challenge, and some of the ideas that they're floating is to keep Pierce elevated, keep it there, turn it into a park, put restaurants, tear it down. There's been some ideas floated about taking it through East End, and knowing the whole Juan Parras and the whole kind of grassroots environmental organization they have there, I just see it being a challenge, and I just don't see it working. I mean, right now it doesn't work, but I think it's just kind of a TBA right now. And I know that's not the answer you want to hear, but it's just it is what it is.
I think if you look around the country right now, the coolest park is the Highline Park in New York City. It's really awesome. I have not had the opportunity to go, but every time one of my friends posts on Facebook that they're at Highline and with their dog, I'm extremely jealous. I love going to dog parks with my dog. We're taking walks, walkability. So I really would like to see it turned into something green, a usable space that's available for all the city to use. And I'd also like to see, since we didn't get to how we got here, I had to pick a car, but I would have taken light rail if we had rail in Richmond. And I could hop on the rail in Richmond and then ride it right from Main Street down to downtown to get to the Pierce Elevated Park. So really would love to see that.
Yeah, and my thinking about the Pierce Elevated is, I think it is a great thing to tear that structure down. It is a gate that's keeping people from freely walking back and forth between Midtown and downtown. And it really, I heard about the idea about putting it up, leaving the structure up there and making that into an elevated park. But I'm sorry, from everything I've read, I look at that and I go, it's going to be an obstruction. It's not going to really be a park. It's going to be up in blazing sun up there. Much better to turn it into an open space, green space, where you can have a whole lot of different park activity going on there, as well as allowing people to freely go back and forth east-west out of downtown. I think the other thing about that restructuring of 45 is that as it goes around the east side of downtown and then heads north, I understand that there are going to be several places where it's going to be below grade, and there's some possibility of even having parks on top of it in those locations. And I think that would be very good, especially some of those neighborhoods that you go through there. Although on the other hand, it's never easy, but there is a lot of concern about the footprint of that new highway and how wide it's going to be in some of the neighborhoods that it will impact in some of the people's homes. And so that's the kind of thing, that's the kind of issue that you got to work and really find out what's important to the neighborhood and make sure that as a city council person that we help represent their interests as well as the planners at Galveston or Houston Galveston Area Council.
All right. Last question. At-large candidates serve the whole city, not any one district. So, what plan do you have to communicate issues relating to environment, recycling, transit, all the stuff we're talking about, to the people that you'd be representing, which is to say everybody?
Well, I've worked in external relations and public affairs a long time, and all that experience, as well as the political experience I've had for several decades, tells me that the thing that is almost always missing in a lot of our public programs is simply communications. And I say simply because that's a big ticket item, but the truth is we rarely as in the government do a good job of it. And we really need to work a lot harder at making sure everybody understands what the plan is as we go about it.
Part of the reason I'm running is to add some consensus building onto council. And so to reach all parts of the city, I'd really like to work with district counterparts. I'm sure that there are going to be district council members that I disagree with strenuously on several issues. But I'd like to the extent that I can, tag on to their efforts to communicate with their constituents. I'm in every neighborhood. And I think that that is really one key. Another is social media, which is huge. I'm a big believer in social media, most especially Twitter. And general communication. My business cards that are over on the table have my personal cell phone number. I give those out to everyone at every event that I go to. So I plan to make myself accessible to constituents when they need me and if they have questions or concerns.
Yikes.
Last but not least, so as I said on my League of Women Voters video, I was concerned, surprised, and embarrassed that a lot of the current and past city council members were not bringing up certain issues. And I mean that in the most sincere way. Because if you actually compare what we aren't doing to other cities throughout the US and Europe and Latin America, we are very far behind. And it's not even big rocket science ideas. It's like participatory budgeting. And so my hope, being from Houston, is that I already have a 6-year plan in place. Take a look at it, let me know what you think. A lot of these ideas that I have don't need the mayor. He doesn't need to be there, or she doesn't need to be there. So we don't need approval from them. Participatory budgeting, like I said, they're doing it in Brazil. It's $1 million. It's pretty basic. It's not rocket science.
All right. Thank you to the at-large number 3 candidate. At this time, I would like to ask the at-large number 4 candidate to please come up. Everyone take 1 minute to introduce yourselves, and again, please keep an eye on our friendly neighborhood timekeeper here.
Okay, I'll stand so I can see everybody in the room. Good evening.
Good
My
evening.
name is Amanda Edwards, and I'm running for Houston City Council at Large, position 4. And I'm running because I'm passionate and committed to making a long-term difference in the city of Houston. I am the candidate with passion, vision, and also the skill set necessary to really move this city forward and move it forward in a manner that's innovative and inclusive of all Houstonians. I'm a native Houstonian. I grew up and I attended public school in the Aldine Public School District. I'm a graduate of Eisenhower High School. I attended Emory University, where I was a community building and social change fellow, and I attended Harvard Law School, and used those experiences as well as my time in working in the municipal finance space, where I built schools, hospitals, and other infrastructure to really form understanding of what all are the issues that are happening in the Houston community, and I'm committed to making a difference here, and I'm excited to run for Houston City Council at large position 4. Thank you.
Get down.
My name is Larry Blackman. Good evening. And I also am running for the Houston City Council at large position number 4C. I got married right over here in Japanese Pagoda. I was the first one. I worked for Parks and Recreation for a number of years, so I think I have a little bit of an edge on with very well qualified candidates here. But working for Parks and Recreation covered a lot of areas when I was there. And it means something to me because I was a school teacher for over 33 years. And one of the things that we had to include was the parks. You can't do anything without the parks. In addition to that, this building that was built right here, it's this mound right here. It's a great mound, but it's keeping you from seeing the golf course that I play on right over here, at least three times a week. It's no wonder why I am the I've been endorsed by 3 because I've been involved in the community the whole time, from the north to the south. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lori Robinson. I'm running for Houston City Council for the at-large 4 position. CO ran for his term limited spot. I'm 4th on the ballot under 4, so 4 at 4. My background, I'm a small business owner. I have been doing Medicare and Medicaid audits for the last 20 years for the federal government and the state of Texas. Found $225 million in fraud. We went back to the Medicare Trust Fund in 2012, so we're very proud of that work. And in 2005, when I moved back to Houston from Washington, D.C., I was awarded a contract to help project manage when the evacuees came here from New Orleans for Katrina. My job was threefold. The first one was to find housing for the people in the Astrodome and George R. Brown Convention Center. The next job was to provide case management services so that they could get services and get back to what would never be normal life. And the third thing was to find the city the reimbursement. So we were able to find $366 million back to the back to the city for the reimbursement. We did the same thing after I housed the people, got the reimbursement in case management. So that has led me to also have a love for doing things as a servant leader. I changed my life. Though I own a small business, I also do a lot of activities in the community. I'm Lori Robinson, running for Houston City Council for the at-large 4 position. I'm 4th on the ballot.
All right, first question. Big concern in a lot of parts of the city is dumping. People throwing trash in empty lots. HPD has used various strategies to try and fight this. What would you like to see done that isn't currently being done, or what would you like to see done better to combat dumping in the city?
Okay, well, if you guys noticed that after the Meyerland or the Memorial Day floods in Meyerland, they were able to get the dump trucks out to pick up all the trash in record time because the city actually has contractors that are on standby for any emergency situation. Those are jobs. So if we want to clear the trash in the communities, we need to first hold people to the regulations and find them. We've got cameras in some areas that can locate the people, but we need to find them, and it's not 5,000, I think it's more like 25,000 that should be done to keep people from dumping. The next thing is, let's go clean it up. I mean, if we can do it for Meyerland in that area, I know it costs a little, but we need to save our city from an economic perspective and have those areas be areas where people want to live. We need to go clean the dump stuff up, but there are people who are out there that are conscious with the city that can go out and clean up the trash. I think that needs to be implemented.
Certainly there needs to be a cleanup for sure, and dumping should be you should be fined vigorously for it. But let me say this: our mentality has to be changed, and you can see it change. Some of the people in here in this room remember back when people, before Don't Mess with Texas came out, they were just throwing trash around everywhere. But the American community got together and they came up with various little programs, subliminal messages like Captain Planet, those kind of things. Now, it don't mean that wasn't around when I was there, but I could see the difference. But when we change the mentality of the people, then we can police dumping better. Now, we know that dumping occurs mostly on the northeast side of Houston. Now, there has to be there's some challenges there, but we definitely have to penalize those people when we catch them.
To address that question, I have personal experience in seeing the effects of illegal dumping. My grandmother lived in the Acres Homes community for over 60 years of her life, where I would drive by and see in open ditches just ransacked with garbage and trash. And I think it's very important that not only do we focus on what are the incentives what are the dynamics that are creating these dynamics in which people are dumping, which is that there aren't stiffer penalties associated with it, but also how do we get people engaged in policing that on a community level. So you do have cameras available where that is monitored by the law enforcement officers, and certainly that's one aspect of it, but perhaps having some type of reward element to it to people in the community so that when they spot that, they're able to highlight that, and there's a reduced amount of dumping happening in that regard. In addition to that, you want to make sure that the penalties are stiff enough, and so that there will be not just a slap on the finger, but more so a real damage to your business if you choose to dump in an area, particularly those that are low income or underserved.
As you know, Metro has rolled out its new bus map. What's your experience been with it, and what, if anything, would you like to see them, what changes, if any, would you like to see them make to it?
Great question. The Reimagined Bus Plan just got rolled out, and that is a new plan in which no longer will you see bus routes go straight through downtown in order to go to any part of the city. It was creating downtown as the central node in terms of traffic and increasing the amount of transfers that people were required to take in order to go from home to the workplace. And as we all know as Houstonians, we know that there are several destinations for work, not just the downtown area. I think there has been some innovation and experimentation in terms of areas in which there's been a little bit more of a sparser population and sparser use of the busing program, so we have to continue to monitor what's happening in the Northeast, for example, where those routes were drastically changed to make sure that we're still meeting those needs. But I think concentrating more routes in denser areas like the southwest part of town, where we now see a lot more apartment complexes, will be a good use of Metro dollars in terms of transporting to and from where they need to go. I do think we do need to keep paying attention, though, to those areas that no longer have the frequent services, particularly seniors who are fully dependent upon utilizing routes to get to and from doctor's appointments, for example. So I think it's great that we're looking at innovation in terms of our busing system. Certainly multimodal transit options are paramount in terms of moving the city forward.
I was one of the original people that worked on the Metro Rail before it came here. Before they found the money for it, I was under Dr. Naomi Madej, who was then on the Metro board. We did the empirical data research and did everything. Now, let me tell you, Metro, the recommendation that we gave Metro, they didn't do it at all. It's supposed to be 2 rails going north and south, 2 rails east and west. The buses are supposed to take those riders. If you see right now, there's hardly any ridership, there may be 2 or 3 people that's riding on that rail now. That's including the driver. But if you look at the way it was supposed to go, north, south, east, and west, the buses were supposed to go straight to the rail system. It was designed, we had it all done, and I need to be there so I can right some of these wrongs, because the one-way street was, Main Street was the only street that was supposed to be going both ways. It was supposed to have been on the east side, going one way, and on the west side going one way. I can come back to that if you want me to. I'll talk to you about that because I'm passionate about that. I put a lot of work into that.
So the program's new, and I don't think we have data yet to see if it works or not and what the complaints are. One thing I would like to see them do is, since people have to stand up for a longer time, I'd like to see for the seniors to have more sitting areas and coverage over each of the stops. I think that's something Metro should invest in. But I have a bigger concern. I've been back from Washington, D.C. I lived in Washington, D.C. for 4 years. I wanted to keep my car. I loved my car, driving in from the suburbs to downtown D.C. But as soon as I discovered Metro, I stopped driving my car in. It was the best thing that Washington, D.C. has going. So in the last 10 years since I've been back to Houston, since 2005, Metro in Washington, D.C. has extended their train all the way out to Virginia. So why can't we have that here? Why can't we get that here? In 10 years, they extended the whole line 25, 30 miles to Virginia. I think that has to be the future, and we need to start implementing something like that now. That will save a lot of money for citizens and cause and have mobility be easier in the city of Houston. So that's what I'm going to try to work with Metro to have a plan to create some type of Metro system here that's efficient for everybody.
Okay. Mayor Parker implemented what's known as complete streets via an executive order for new construction in Houston and rebuild in Houston. What's your view of this, and what, if anything, would you do differently with it?
Well, anything that's going to build pathways and walkways for people who want to walk, who are in wheelchairs and need to have that type of assistance is anything that we need to support and fund. I work with seniors on a daily basis, and I know we have the ADA requirements and things like that, but some people have, especially the senior facilities, take their carts to the grocery store, and they have to go out in the street. So I think anything that we can do to improve it and to keep funding it is something that we need to do. Our population is getting older. A lot of us, in the future will be probably in these that have mobility issues. And can't we go out and enjoy the things that we need to enjoy and have a better quality of life by having our city be able to be efficient for us to be able to move around in? I think that's something, we already have a problem with transportation and mobility for disabled and for seniors. I think it's something we need to concentrate and fund.
That's a nice plan. It's a good starter plan that the mayor came up with. But we're going to have to get back involved with going back to Metro again. If Metro had the proper routes that it was supposed to have in the beginning, we wouldn't be having this conversation about, not this type of conversation, about what the problem is right now. The plan is okay. It's a good starter plan, but it's overall, it's vague. The plan is vague, but we have to tie it in with our Metro Rail and our bus routes. It is very important. We have to get the ridership up. We have to get people to their jobs. We have to get people to school. And that's going north, south, east, and west.
I think the way of the future in terms of moving this city forward, as we have over 100,000 people moving into the city every day, you've got to be able to provide opportunities for people to move. And so that doesn't just involve a car, your car, and just your transit that as your sole transit option. You have to have those bike lanes and make sure that those bike lanes are safe and usable and friendly for others. You've got to make sure that those who are walking and using that pedestrian option. I live in Midtown, so we see complete streets in terms of seeing the intersection between people who are on bike and people who are on foot, people who are in cars, and it needs to be safe. I think it's of critical importance, and I think the mayor should be commended for implementing the Complete Street program. And I think that's the way of the future. If you think about what can make Houston a destination that people actually want and enjoy to live in, having those multimodal transit options are critical. And so that, coupled with also the light rail, we will be moving our city forward and around in a way that's managed properly and efficient. So I think it's commendable.
All right. Thank you to the at-large number 4 candidates. Last but certainly not least, our at-large number 5 candidates up front, please. again, our friendly neighborhood timekeeper.
Metro line coming here. Not that I'm a brave environmentalist, but it's just easier. I biked until the end of the Ironman race, and I hurt so bad I said like Forrest Gump, I think that's enough. And so I've jogged, run for 42 years in parks. I just came from City Hall. I'm the incumbent, position 5, Jack Christie, where I was working with the city employees on internal environment. Tonight, I'm working on the external environment. Internal meaning keeping the employees of the city healthy. And you have to keep a clean environment there to have the external environment complemented. So, in the 80s, I was president of the Spring Branch School Board. In the 90s, I was 8 years on the State Board of Education, where they named a recycling bin after me on the 6th floor. I was chairman. I was put into the Science Hall of Fame, not because I was smart, because I raised the standards in the schools, for public schools, and environmental science was part of that.
Good evening, everybody. How y'all doing?
Good.
Thank you all for staying for At-Large 5. We promise to make this lots of fun. Close out our evening. My name is Philippe Nassif, and I'm a candidate for Houston City Council At-Large Position 5. I am here, and I'm running for office. Both of my parents immigrated to this country. My father came from Lebanon. My mother came from Mexico. And they came to this country, and they came to this city because of the opportunity it provides, the vision. The city is known across the world as being a visionary city, a city full of leaders, and a city full of hope. And so they came here, they started their family, myself included, lived on the west side before I went to the University of St. Thomas, studied political science, started working on then Senator Obama's campaign before I went to move to DC as well. Worked in the White House and his advance team. When I finished the White House, worked in his re-election campaign, and after we won Florida, where I was based, he said that I think all of you should get out of DC, you're sick of shoveling snow, head back to wherever you came from, run for office, work at the community level, and meet with the people where real difference is made. Which is why I came back home to Houston. I'm running for office for all of you. I'm not going to tell you what you all, I think you want. I've been listening to all of you, and I've been talking to all of you, and you all want a visionary and a leader in At-Large 5, and I'm your man. Thank you.
All right. A major factor in causing flooding in Houston is development and paving over of wetlands and prairies that largely exist outside the city limits. There was a story in the Chronicle about this a couple of weeks ago, about the shrinking prairie lands out around Katy. Given that we're on the business end of the effects of that, what, if anything, can the city of Houston do to affect that and protect its interests?
I think we're at sea level, and that makes a difficult deal there. Long-term planning, proper streets and drainage. There's some innovative ways of doing detention under buildings. I think that almost, in some of these high-density areas, should almost be a requirement. There's a little school right there on Frostwood Elementary School on Memorial and Gester. It's all under building detention. They used to flood. I haven't seen it standing puddle yet. So it's just got to be a priority. Infrastructure, you've got to plan ahead. Complete streets, we started that. I was at the opening. With that, you have to have proper drainage. So it's just long-term planning. And this city is just now in a time of starting to plan long-term.
The issue of flooding, it's one of these issues that becomes really popular after we have a flood, and then it just seems to proceed after with the water. I think it's a real challenge for this city. I'm 30 years old, and I've seen 3 100-year flood events in my lifetime. I don't know about y'all, but that sounds like something is really wrong. We live in a world with a changing climate. We live in a city that's rapidly changing, rapidly growing. I don't know if all of you read what I thought was a fantastic op-ed written by our mayor, Mayor Parker, maybe about a month ago, discussing how vulnerable Houston is to the impacts of climate change. We need to do as much as we can at the local local level. We need to support the existing ecological infrastructure, the infrastructure the Earth has already always had, which is our marshes and which is our prairies, as much as possible, and not damage them by overdevelopment and overuse. We need to be thinking about that as we grow and as we plan. That's something that I intend to do.
As you know, the city has curbside recycling and has a separate pickup for yard waste, but a significant amount of what goes into our landfills is food waste, organic compounds, stuff that maybe could be composted. Some cities like Austin have a separate pickup curbside for composting. Do you support the city of Houston pursuing a plan like that?
Absolutely, and I still believe in separation, recycling, embarrassed my high-rise building into recycling, different parts of it. When I was in the big house and the kids were small, I never bagged up recycling. It was always mulched and put back into the gardens and or the ground. So it's just it's common sense, understanding nature. But you put it back into recycling. If you're listening to money-making disposal companies and chemical companies, it's not going to work. President of Rice University, Hackerman, before he died, he wanted children to understand nature. In the State Board of Education, if we could get kids to understand nature, I said, do you know what you just said? And he says, yeah, I know what I just said. That's geology, it's chemistry, biology, physiology, zoology, astrology, understanding how it all works. If you do that, you're going to recycle properly.
So I'm a very, very big supporter of zero waste. The city of Houston is really, really behind, not just in the way we process our recycling and the number of households that recycle. There was a question asked earlier about apartment complex. I think that apartments should be required to at least have one bin available for people to recycle, and right now they are not. With regards to composting, I would love to see a citywide composting plan put into place. It's all part of zero waste. And I would like to actually take it a step further and be sure that we're educating people just on how to compost. I've had some relatively bad experiences trying to compost myself. I figured it out. There was a mess for all involved. But I think it's really important across the board. We have to educate people on how to compost, how to recycle better.
All right. What's your assessment of the job that the city does in maintaining and upgrading its parks and recreation areas, and what would you like to see done differently?
I think it gets anywhere from an A- to an A. It's been mentioned. Laura Spangen is doing a great job. I've been in numerous, dozens of opening of parks, opening of food desert gardens, old weeds in 98-degree weather. The city is on the right track. You have to go back to Mayor Bill White. Tried to work on the pollution and fought big law firms and such to get this a cleaner city. The city's on the right track. It's working on recycling every day. And I've been at the opening of the Rent the Bicycle program with the mayor, and so we rode off into the sunset with the bicycles and such. But there's just so many things being done properly. I'm telling you one thing, if these school districts are teaching proper environmental education, you just got to think about it. The chemicals and the pollution, it's been about 60 years, and there wasn't proper education. Some of those teachers are really teaching great environmental education.
I agree, Mr. Christie. The city's done a very good job with its parks, both in the upkeep and in establishing new parks. I would really like to see the city go further. I think that there are a lot of neighborhoods in the city, a lot of parts of the city that feel very left out of the overall greening of Houston. We have a beautiful city. Our beauty is at the street level. But if you go to some parts of the Fifth Ward, if you go to Sunnyside, if you go to Northeast Houston, if you go to the areas that I will be in as a city council member, you will see that they just don't have the parks, and they don't have that sort of community infrastructure that exists in these parts of town. That's not to say that we should have this over here, it should be over there. No. What it means is the city has not prioritized enough the expansion of our parks, the expansion of our public spaces. And that is an economic issue for those neighborhoods. So when we talk about growing our economy, which is a big focus of why I'm running, we see that these neighborhoods that are left behind, there's a strong correlation with no parks, and high crime, and all of these other things. And so I plan to change that.
All right. Thank you very much. Before I hand it back to Rachel, I would like to say thank you to all of you for coming. Thank you to all the candidates for talking to us. And I would like to encourage everybody to ask the questions that I didn't get to ask of the candidates that are here at the time that we have left. Thank you very much.
He owns in the waterfall. Plugged it until
Just a few quick thank yous. You're not allowed to put things I'd like you to consider doing, and then we'll right out of here. So, first, I want to thank Steve for being the bad guy and the timekeeper. So, Steve Stelter is also our board chair. Our guitar is our fellow through a State Department-sponsored fellowship from Liberia, and he is here for 4 months, and he is live streaming this. He's also been helping with graphic design and all kinds of other stuff at the office. And he's very interested in solid waste. If you are interested in solid waste, please get in touch with us so you can meet with him and learn more about it. Did I say he's here from Liberia? Thank you to Doreen Stoller for making this facility available.
Yeah.
So much. Ken Fountain has been setting the flash off all evening, and hilarious. Thank you very much. Carol is one of our volunteers who called and reminded all of our candidates this morning to don't forget to come, which I'm sure is one of the reasons why so many of them were here. And Sean McFarland is one of our board members, and she brought a whole team of people and a bunch of refreshments. I think she stepped out for a moment, but when you go out, thank her and grab some food, because the more you eat, the less we have to carry out. And I've got a team of supporters that have been really great through this whole process. Raj, who's sitting here in the front row with the Rice Design Alliance, he edits the Site magazine. Teresa Demchuk, is she here? Oh, back in the corner, and she's been a huge supporter as well. And Jen Powis is standing right behind her with the Powis Law Firm, have been huge motivators in this, and were instrumental also in the questionnaire that Site magazine sent out to all of the candidates. And you'll be seeing blog posts about that in the coming weeks. And I encourage you to look at that. Thank you to everybody who submitted questions. Like I said, we had a lot of them. And a few things for you to do. First, if you look in here, there are a couple of dates on this second page inside that are important. There are a couple of mayoral forums that are coming up. I might have gotten the names wrong on some of them, but definitely consider going to them. The other dates I have, the voter registration deadline is October 5th, but I'm sure everybody here is already registered, so just in case you aren't, get back together and do it. And the election is Tuesday, November 3rd, which I'm sure you all have marked on your calendar, unless you're doing early voting. We have sign-up sheets outside for our newsletter, so you can learn about all of these wonderful things that are going on. If you don't get our newsletter yet, please sign up. And then finally, without the support of people like you, we can't do the work that we're doing. And so we've got a donation jar up here. We've got membership forms, and got a board member, Becky, who's going to come up here, and if you need receipts, she can give you receipts, and you take check or cash, and there's instructions for making credit card donations. So that, and one final thank you to Charles Cutler. Thank you for being here. building closes at 8, so we have to be out of here. Thank you guys very much for coming.
Nice seeing you. It was nice meeting you. And I'm glad to know that you